Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Gentlemen Prefer Blondes is a 1953 musical comedy film that's based on a 1949 stage musical of the same name. The film was directed by Howard Hawks, and it stars Jane Russell and Marilyn Monroe, with Charles Colburn, Elliott Reed, Tommy Noonan, George Winslow, Taylor Holmes, and Norma Varden in supporting roles. It's filled with comedic situations that arise and some great musical numbers that are forever remembered even to this day. The numbers were choreographed by Jack Cole, while the music was written by Hoagy Carmichael, Harold Adamson, Julie Stein, and Leo Robin. Despite being the standout in the film, Marilyn Monroe was paid her usual contract salary, which was $500 a week, while Jane Russell, the better known of the actresses at the time, earned about $200,000 for this role. While Russell's down-to-earth, sharp wit was all the talk by most critics, it was Marilyn Monroe's portrayal of the gold-digging Lorelei Lee for which the film is often remembered. Marilyn's rendition of the song "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend" and her pink dress are considered iconic, and her performance has been copied by many actresses and entertainers over the years. The basic storyline of the film is that Lorelei Lee, played by Marilyn Monroe, is a beautiful showgirl who's engaged to be married to the wealthy Gus Esmond, played by Tommy Noonan. All of this much to the disapproval of Gus's rich father, who thinks that Lorelei is just after his money. When Lorelei goes on a cruise accompanied by only her best friend Dorothy Shaw, played by Jane Russell, the elder Esmond Sr. hires Ernie Malone, played by Elliott Reed, who's a private detective, to follow Lorelei and to report any questionable behavior that would disqualify her from the marriage. Although Howard Hawks is credited as the sole director of the film, most people contend that the iconic musical number that was done by Marilyn Monroe, "Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend," was actually directed by the choreographer for the movie. Howard Hawks had nothing to do with the musical numbers at all. He wasn't even there. In the scene where Jane Russell sings "Ain't There Anybody Here for Love," that sequence where she gets knocked into the pool was a complete accident. Howard Hawks didn't see it actually happen, but once he saw the dailies from that, he kept it in the film. The movie was originally bought by Fox as a vehicle for Betty Grable. After the success of Niagara from 1953, which featured Marilyn Monroe, the studio believed that Marilyn was a much more potent actress that was quite a bit less expensive than Grable was. Marilyn at the time was under contract, so she was a cheap one. She hadn't made it to the fame that she would achieve shortly after this film. They really worked on coaching the two stars as far as their dance and their walks were concerned. They wanted Monroe to be less sexy, slightly, and Russell to be more. It's also rumored that at one point in the film, they actually dubbed both Marilyn and Jane Russell swaying bottoms with somebody else's rear sides. The studio initially wanted to dub Marilyn's voice entirely. They thought that she sounded almost silly. But producers went to bat for this and thought that it was an awful idea. They felt that Monroe's voice suited her persona so beautifully. For the "Diamonds Are the Girl's Best Friend" musical number, Marilyn was originally going to be dressed in nothing but bands of black velvet and masses of rhinestones, creating the illusion of a woman-sized diamond necklace. But this design was deemed to be too revealing, and it was vetoed by the studio in favor of the now iconic pink dress. It said that Marilyn kept insisting on retakes despite approval of the takes by the director Howard Hawks. When Fox asked Hawks how production could be sped up, he immediately responded to him by saying, "I have 3 wonderful ideas. Number 1, replace Marilyn. Number 2, rewrite the script and make it shorter. And number 3, get a new director." During an initial story conference for the movie with Daryl Zanuck and the director Howard Hawks, Hawks suggested to Zanuck that the studio change Marilyn's look and the screen persona a bit, so that Marilyn would be more of an actress and less of a blonde bombshell type. But as things went on as they were, the results of this movie made Marilyn a massively huge film star. Jane Russell once admitted that during the filming, co-star Tommy Noonan admitted on the set that he didn't like kissing Marilyn Monroe in any of the kissing scenes. Monroe actually overheard his comment, and she burst into tears and went and locked herself in her dressing room and wouldn't come out. It took quite a while of coaxing before the crew was able to get her to come out of her dressing room to continue shooting. The gossip columnist of the time tried to create a feud between Marilyn Monroe and Jane Russell, but that just wasn't the way it was. The pair got along really great. Russell ended up crediting their fast friendship on their shared zodiac sign, which was Gemini. The teaming of these two proved so successful, both critically and commercially, that Fox wanted to do something else to re-team this duo. They wanted them to star in the film How to Be Very, Very Popular. But Monroe just passed on the project because she didn't like the script at all. The costume designers that worked with Marilyn on this film realized that she had the perfect body for costume designers to work with. You see, she had breasts that were spaced pretty far apart. This allowed the designers to give her low-cut outfits without ever having to worry about a malfunction from a costume that would end up showing something that would have to be censored. They could fully exploit her sexuality with dresses that were split all the way down the front. This film received a lot of positive reviews from the critics, and both Monroe and Russell were praised for their performances. This is a fun movie to watch. Take a look at it. I think you'll thoroughly enjoy it. I know I did. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.